Awesome, guys. So if you're on car form, this is typically what you'll see. We're gonna go to new and we're going to use new purchase or offer. And the only reason for this is that I already have a template for a buyer side. So I'm just gonna keep it super simple for now, but we're gonna do a deeper dive into setting up your templates. But we're gonna review real quickly the BRE for just a standard BRE that we have our clients sign off on after our buyer consultation. So these are the forms that we typically have set up on our template. So this is representing a buyer, and a lot of this was actually helped by Maureen Doyle, who's on the call with us. Nika, good to see you on here. So our first start would be the buyer representation exclusive. I tend to use the older version called Editor Classic. Use whichever one you prefer.
A question. Is there a big difference between the classic and the new one? That I know you go to classic, I like to go classic too, but is there a big difference between the two? Yeah.
Honestly, I haven't even opened it.
Let's skip that question.
Yeah, okay, cool.
I could help out a little bit.
Yeah, please, Maureen, fire away.
Yeah, it's just pretty much preference, what you're more comfortable with. I think this way that Philip clicked into, it's a little more user friendly. But again, it's just what you're comfortable with and what's easier for you.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maureen. That was awesome. So a lot for the BRE, you're going to see a lot of the same disclosure regarding real estate agency relationship. This is our first and foremost form that will come up on everything. I'm going to scroll down to what we would cover with the client. So if you guys see this, Christopher, I would already have their name here under buyer because of the cover sheet. But if I wasn't using the cover sheet off of that, I would just type in their names, John Keller and Mary Keller, or Gary Keller, Mary Keller. On here, and we can also set this up in a template. But you would have to put some sort of location, and it can't be like USA, right? In order to make this a enforceable, to a degree, enforceable contract, you would need to put some version of a relative location, a time frame. There has to be an expiration date or a time that this expires. You would also need to put some sort of compensation. So on here, on my preset, I put in 3.5%. Of the acquisition and $1,000 fee. Do we enforce it? I've enforced it only twice in my career. Okay. And I didn't even collect 1,000. It was like whatever it was for TC, $500 for the TC file. And we did collect 2.5%. So we collected an extra 0.5% from the client. I didn't collect the full 3.5. There were times where it's a 1% deal, and we did a sweetheart deal for a VA buyer and didn't charge them any extra. We tried to get it from the seller. Right, so this is just totally, I'm not saying that we don't enforce it, right? I'm just saying we only have to enforce it twice.
I think that's a critical point because a lot of agents would want to know more about that when you actually want an offer, what's going to be the commission and all that stuff. So
right.
That's a very critical question.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And guys, remember, our commissions are paid essentially what's on the MLS, and it'll even state here. The amount rate of real estate commissions is not fixed by law. They are set by a broker individually. When you actually read through it, it'll actually even talk about the payment or what we're paid through on MLS. Now, keep in mind, we were, as crazy as it sounds, we go through all this prep work and understanding of the agreements, and yet we're not allowed to present this to the client without us practicing the law. So keep that in mind. When you do send this over, you can let them know, please read through it. And we do have this sign off for our business and professional relationship together, working together. I also add in here under this page, page 11 or section 11, page 4, page 3 of 3 actually. Buyer agrees to pay the Keller Williams Realty Calabasas transaction fee of $174 and transaction coordinator fee of $500 to Maureen Doyle. Or if you're working with Mina on, then Mina to Mina on, or whoever your transaction coordinator is. This is how we have it set up in our templates, so it's already right across the board, ready to go. And they can sign off on it, and then off we go. So these are like really the basics. I mean, Christopher's like, Philip, seriously, I waited a week for you to explain it this way. But no, literally, this is what it is. I mean, there isn't a whole lot of rocket science to the BRE, other than just making sure that you do put in a basic location for the property, a percentage here, and then a beginning date and an end date. You can easily overcome anyone that says, hey, you know, I already have a BRE sign. Oh yeah, show it to me. And it's not dated and some kind of crazy location like anywhere in the world. I've seen that. Or some sort of crazy commission that doesn't make sense. You can find that null and void. Oh, Maureen, please take it away.
We also need a price range in there.
Great point. So you also need a price range. You can't just leave it blank. And you can't put some crazy number unless the client is valid to pay for like $100 million home. You can't put some crazy number. We've seen on the broker side these agreements not be executed, even though I as the buyer for the client, let's say Natalie and Ryan, you know, I'm their buyer, I was their buyer agent, I have this, and it says something along the lines of anywhere in the world or some crazy thing like the United States, bless you. And I'm asking that the price range is like from, you know, 100,000 to $1 billion or $100 million. And you know, the time frame is almost infinite, right? It's like a 10-year window from 2023 to 2033. And they buy a home in West Hills for $2 million, you know, this BRE wouldn't be enforceable, right? It's an unrealistic time frame. It's way, the scope of the purchase was like way beyond what their means were even to like purchase a home, and the location was unrealistic to cover all of the United States. So again, it has to be realistic, otherwise it won't hold up in mediation or arbitration. And if it were to, you know, we haven't dealt with this going to court, that where it got killed was arbitration, right? So if you go to an arbitration panel, and part of what you have to think of is like, hey, how will this show up in a court of law or a court of my peers? Arbitration panels tend to be other realtors, and if they see that it's totally like bogus, you know, like, hey, you were really just getting people to sign paperwork without them understanding what it was and putting these obscure dates, it will be unenforceable, right? And that's if you go through those extremes. Again, I've never been to that extreme personally to collect money from a past client or a client who decided not to work with me. In fact, clients who decide, hey, Philip, we're just not a fit for each other, or I'm not a fit for them, they're not a fit for me. This is before I learned how to like just refer the client out. I just never enforced it myself. And I showed them 20 houses and it wasn't a fit, and I just chalked it up to experience. Right. I've never had it to the horror stories that other agents talk about. I've never gotten that far. But yeah, we've had clients not work with us and we have assigned BRE. I'm not enforcing it, mainly because they fired me, I fired them. It was a mutual breakup. And they went ahead and got their home, and I went ahead and got more clients. Right. So no real love lost there. Any questions about that? Jasmine, Nika, Christopher, Mon, Maureen, team in the office, Natalia, Joseph, both. Awesome. Not going to go through it all. We've got a chat question. Jasmine, thank you. All right, now we're going to go into, now real quick, I'm going to give you guys some time, but if you guys can log into your zip forms, you're going to log into, everyone's just going to log out so you guys can see how we're doing it. You're going to go to car.org, this site, and when you log into your transactions, you're going to go into access now, right? So please have this window open. Once it validates your membership and you log in, it opens a second window. And then from this second window, you'll start off on, let me just hit skip. You'll start off on a page that looks something like this, right? What we're going to do right now, we're going to set up our template forms. Our templates is for our forms and checklists. And I titled ours Winning RPA Package, right? And this is our final product. However, because we're going to do a practice one together, and so far, so we don't lose anyone, I know Mon, you're on the mobile phone. Christopher, Jasmine, Nika, are you guys in front of your zip forms ready to go?
No, you said car.org.
Yeah, car.org. I'll log out of that. So Oh, yeah,
I'm just like, when I enter,
and you go to templates up
yeah,
here.
yeah, I went. And when I open coverage, like,
No, it should be clean. Yeah, because you won't have any buyer on the template form. Right, it should only be your seller.
why, me and my mom never.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. That I'm not sure of, but if you go back to your template, unless you have two template checklists. And you can delete the one or edit the one by taking them off of it. So go back to click on templates. Forms and checklists. Yep. Yeah, so you have 4 of them. And it depends when you start the file.
Might be towards that.
Yeah, and then when you create a transaction, you'll ask you which template to log into. Thank you, Nika, appreciate it. Jasmine, Christopher, you guys in there?
So I basically just delete them.
Yeah, you can delete the whole template if you want. Yeah, just the one template, you can delete that. Jasmine, Christopher, you guys get?
Yeah, I'm good. I have a question regarding the BRE. I'm sorry.
Yeah, of course.
I don't know where I heard it from, but I heard it's you know, where it said location. I heard it's like good to be as broad as possible, like when you fill it out.
I mean,
Like-
I wouldn't say like United States. I mean, if you're showing homes in Ventura and LA County, I would say LA County, Ventura County. We've seen some egregious ones where it's like all of, the entire state of California. But again, I would limit it to where the client is searching. And you can put in Ventura County and Los Angeles County, or if you're doing like south, you go LA County and Orange County, or you can do, again, if you're doing the Tri-County area, Riverside, San Bernardino, and LA County, then you can put that in there. And that'll hold up in mediations. If you're showing them homes in all 3 counties, all 3 purchase, all 3 types of loan products. Yeah, but again, maybe at that point, you're just kind of narrowing down your consultation, which area they'd prefer the most.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
We're saying, like, if you put in all of the state of California or all of the United States or anywhere in the world, it's that becomes not, less and less enforceable.
Yeah, no, most definitely. Okay, yeah, thank you.
Oh yeah, for sure. Great question, by the way. Let's see here. All right, so Jasmine should be logging in. And then we're gonna be here at card member benefits. And at any point, if this feels like we're rushing through it, let me know. But setting up the templates, oh, Betty, you're on here too. Are you in front of the transaction forms as well?
No, I'm not. I'm actually driving.
Oh, got it. It's recorded, so don't worry. And by the way, just call Maureen or me or anyone on Teams. So you're solid. Thanks for being on here too. And then Mon, I know you're on the phone. And then Maureen, please jump in anytime you're like, hey, Philip, that's incorrect. Please correct me as we go through it together.
I will help out. Yeah.
Awesome. So we're gonna go into accessing our transaction form. We're gonna go into validating membership as soon as it checks on. For now, I'll just skip. And then under templates, you're gonna go to forms and checklists. So there is a difference. There's templates and there's transactions, right? One of the misnomers after today's class is that once you set up your templates, you're gonna go back into templates to create your file. No, you don't do that. You have to go to transaction, and then under transaction, this is where you'll create and use your template. So if you're using a purchase offer, we're going to do this example again. Practice. Here at the bottom, it will say my templates, and then I can add in my choice of template, and that's probably where you merged it with a different one. So if you notice here, we have winning RLA package, that's a residential listing agreement package, winning RPA package. And if you do set up your template, which we'll show you how to do, and if I click the button residential, it automatically will use this package, this preset template, the winning RPA package. I don't even have to select it anymore. Because I'm gonna reset that up into the program, into the system. So I'm not gonna do that right now. We're just gonna go right into creating our templates, forms and checklists. And we're gonna create a simple one just for offers. Like when you see ours, it's like super robust, right? I mean, Maureen really went above and beyond and added everything under the sun, including the RCSD, a trust advisory, VP. This is all the stuff you may use or may not use in a transaction. And Maureen just boiled it down to like making sure all of these items are in it at the offset. It makes the job of your transaction coordinator and transaction coach much more smoother. Your partner's job much more smoother if you have all of this in there. However, for our sake, we're only going to cover cover sheet, the BRE, the RPA, and a buyer counter offer 1. I won't even have the KW1 and KW2 addendum in there. I'm going to leave that to your transaction coordinator partner. And I'll leave that as a call from Rich and from Stephanie. Okay. So we're going to exit out of here for now, or we're going to just go back to templates, forms and checklists.
Philip,
Yep, fire away.
just a quick question. I know we're just keeping it minimal, but the KW1 and KW2 are those the insert pages, like the advisory thing? Are the-
Yes.
Okay.
It would just be like our fees, our affiliate.
Right,
fee.
gotcha. That's
Yeah,
what I thought it
the
was.
one. Awesome.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, no, for sure. Now, technically, I will say, Rodeo Realty does an awesome job at every time their agents send out an offer, they send out their affiliate form right away with their offer, right? Maureen made a great point in us working with clients, it tends to confuse people right off the bat. But on top of it, even on the buying side, we're not using any of our services here, right? We might have it on our RPA. 9.9 times out of 10, the listing side is selecting almost all the services, maybe with the exception of home warranty. So we typically won't send it in with our offer, right? But with Nika has a great point, same with Maureen. This is ultimately paperwork that Keller Williams or Rich, Calabasas will require for your file to pass, right? So we're gonna hit forms and checklists. We're gonna create a new one. We're gonna do a new purchase or offer. So that's gonna be your RPA, and you can call it whatever you want. I'm gonna say winning RPA package practice. And I'm gonna say it's for residential use properties. Actually, for me, I'm gonna call it farm and ranch, just so it doesn't confuse our current system. And then it will say, and you can actually preset templates too. It says do not automatically apply this template to new transactions. The other one says automatically apply this template to purchase residential new transactions. Automatically apply this template to all new transactions. Because this is an RPA for your sake, you guys can check this box that says automatically apply this template to purchase residential new transactions, right? For me, I'm going to put do not apply, right? And then I'm going to hit save. And it's going to be a blank sheet. You're going to see nothing on there, nothing whatsoever. So the first thing you're going to do, you're going to hover over to the right hand side, click all forms. And the first thing you want on here is your cover sheet, right? The second thing that you want on here is your BRE. So I'm going to type in BRE on the top side. Or is it no longer called the BRE, buyers representation exclusive? About to spell it all out. Yep. No. Oh shoot, it's not here. Representation, or is it a new name? Help me out here, guys. You guys recall it. Or I can just go back and see what it was renamed. Buyer representation. Oh, here it is. And
Buyer and broker, yeah.
thank you very much. So now this is the other form we're adding, and then we're going to add the California residential purchase agreement. Here it is. And then we're going to kick in there a BCO. That is our buyer counter offer. Now I know we have addendums and all that stuff too. You can technically add that in there. But you know what, on your form, when you're filling out the RPA, you need an addendum 1 in addition to your offer. There's a checkbox for it that you can check off the bat and have that added into your form. We're also not going to add an FHA form, because when you're filling out an RPA, by checking the box that your offer is an FHA or VA loan, And that form also gets automatically added to the transaction. Okay, and then same with the it was SPRP or the SB. Any of those other additional items, seller in possession, or you know, basing your offer on a contingent sale of a buyer, all that stuff is in the RPA already, so we're not gonna add it to your zip form off the bat. Now, these are your 4 basic forms. The first thing we're gonna do is go to our cover sheet. Again, I'm just from my own aesthetic audit, I'm gonna use open form and edit in the classic editor. And for sure, you're always gonna have at least one buyer, so I'm gonna check that box, right? So anytime I go and write an offer, or Maureen or anyone on the team, it would be this box checked, and then we'll fill in buyer name and email address. I tend not to fill in the rest of their information. It usually isn't totally necessary. Sometimes there isn't a buyer too, sometimes there is, sometimes there's not. So I'm gonna leave that blank. That could be a 50-50 variable. There's always at least one seller, right? In order to make a sale, you got a buyer, you got a seller. Sometimes again, there's sometimes no seller too, so we leave that one unchecked.
I'm sorry, if there's a combo, so you don't need to add both of them.
Oh, I'll add them, but on the transaction. But for the
It's not
template,
necessary.
yeah, this is just the template, so it'll just be like the basic check off and all that stuff. Because if I do leave it checked on the template, then on the RPA or on the contract forms, when I go to fill it out, it'll assume that there's a couple and it'll leave the additional boxes checked and I have to uncheck them.
On the offers you write, you always do a transaction cover sheet for all of them?
Mhm.
You do that?
It's easy.
I never did that before. All
Okay.
the offers I wrote, but.
Yeah.
You say that's a good idea to do that?
Oh, absolutely, and I'll show you why. So you put in.
I'd like to know why.
Oh, yeah, totally. So when you put a cover sheet in here, one of the things that you'll want to fill out over and over again, or if you were not to have a cover sheet, is your name, your broker, your contact information. If you plug it in here one time, like escrow, your information as the buyer broker, all of this information here, it'll transpose onto every other form in that file.
Okay.
Hey,
Right.
Philip.
Yep, fire away.
So usually when I start a transaction, I put the parties in the beginning. And then if you note the parties in individually, buyer 1, buyer 2, you know, your TC, whatever, and I pull it from my contacts or whatever, where I write that all in there, it usually pulls right over for everything, the RPA. So would it pull over automatically here, or I still have to fill this one out too?
Well, this is your template page, so the variable would be under transaction. So under template, the one that's going to be consistent across the board, and I'm just going to use this as an example, would be your escrow information. So on RPA, you're going to see Calabasas in the event that we actually get Calabasas escrow, or seller's choice. Right, so we let it be at the discretion of the seller. And now on the RPA, this will automatically transpose over onto the RPA going forward, right? Under the buyer's broker information, this is your information. So I'm gonna type in Philip Sapiandani, should be saved here somewhere. No, it's not, okay. Dante Crispino. Oh no, buyer's broker's firm, sorry. Oops. Keller Williams Realty, Calabasas. Calabasas, I'm missing an AS, there you go. So guys, this is where you take the time to fill this in, because then this gets transcribed every time onto all your forms. Now you're right, the buyer form, that's where I'll start when we're doing a transaction. For the template though, I just want the basic reoccurring information that I'm gonna see over and over and over again. Like for example, our brokerage number, I believe is 01872625. Yeah,
Correct.
there it is. Our street address, hopefully I have Park Sorrento on here somewhere. Park Sorrento, make it easy.
2, 3,
Oh, thank you. 23975
Yes.
correct.
You want them.
Sorrento, unit 110, or suite 110. Right?
It's right there, right there.
Is it? Thank you. And I have to just punch in all the information. So you guys come back to this and punch it all in. Put your office number here, your fax number, your cell number, your email address, your license number, 187. No, 01. 019.
0195540 is yours, Philip.
There you go, too. Yeah, it's been a minute. I'm kidding. So, and I'll put in here my email address. I'm sure it's on here somewhere. Yep, there it is.
But you
Crispino.
said the cover sheet auto-populates your RPA, but if you have an RPA with template with your information already, doesn't that already fill out? No.
No.
Okay, I bet it's full. Maybe I'm missing.
Whatever you complete on, so you're in your templates right now. So whatever you're gonna do in here is going to be your template moving
Yeah.
forward.
So once you do it here, it will transcribe onto all of your files under transaction. So if you're using this as your template for writing offers, anytime you write an offer in a transaction and you apply the template. And again, if we check the box for automatically apply to all buyer transactions, this template will be used over and over and over again on all of those purchases, right?
Right, but we'll also have the information of this seller on there too, so it will also auto-populate the seller, unless you want to leave that blank and fill that later.
Well, yeah, because that's a variable, right? We're not gonna fill in the listing agent information, that's a
Yeah.
variable. The property address, clearly a
Of
variable,
course,
buyer, seller, always a
of
variable.
course,
We're checking in the most minimal things that are consistent across the board. So that when we wanna write an offer in less than 2 minutes, we just pop onto our phones or our computers and
makes
off
sense,
we go.
makes sense.
So your name would be consistent throughout, your cell number, you can put in all the information here, it'll auto-populate. Under title, I'll put clear mark title, I have that already. Clear mark title or seller's choice, appraisal, we leave blank. The seller brokerage information will auto-populate as well. Let me just do this, so like, Calabasas, California. Zip code, what are we, 91302?
Yes,
Thank you. And then telephone number, office line, fax, and I know there's a fax number here. All right, guys, and then under disclosure source, pick anyone you want, NHD, Snap NHD, or seller's choice. Always put that option in there. It actually makes it easier for the listing agent or seller to just accept our offer. You know, I mean, take a stand where you want to take a stand. You know, if we wrote everything as clean as possible to the point they're accepting our offer, we've had very little blowback from them when it comes to like home protection or home warranty. They're pretty flexible when it comes to that, at least that's what we've noticed. But I'll add in or seller's choice across the board. HOA, we don't always have the HOA company. So this is the most basic items on your cover sheet, is you're gonna check off the box for one buyer at least, one seller at least. Leave this portion blank for property information, that's a complete variable. We're going right into the Calabasas escrow, or your preferred escrow company, totally fine. Or seller's choice. Right through, you definitely have to fill in your buyer's broker information. And then when you do a listing template, fill out your seller brokerage information, right? On the buyer side though, this is because this is a template for us representing buyers. You'll fill out this information here. Pick a title company and just add the words or seller's choice. Pick an NHD company and add or seller's choice. Home warranty, just make sure you add or seller's choice. And you'll see it reflected here on the BRE. This is something we covered a little bit with Christopher and the team. Scroll. So if you notice here, this is just a great example. You'll see that at least our information is filled in. I know there's usually going to be at least one buyer that I'm representing, so I'm going to check the box for buyer under disclosure relationship. Let's see down here, this will all be blank, that can all be blank. If you notice, it already transcribed over Keller Williams Realty, Calabasas, my name, our DRE license numbers. Let's see here. So the dates are going to be different, locations could be different unless you're like super specific to one area. Buyer agrees, and this is where I put that percentage in, and you can put whatever you want, 2.5%, 3%. Mine was 3.5%. I put in an additional $1,000 to boot. And then if you scroll down further, to make life easier for your TC partner, you can add under other terms, or actually no, not under other, but under other terms, you can disclose that the buyer will pay the Keller Williams administration fee or admin fee of $174 and the $500 TC fee, or if it's I don't know, $350. Whatever you want to disclose on there, you can put it in this box here, right? And then that would practically be the end of your BRE from a template standpoint, because everything else would be a variable. Under your RPA, when you go into Editor Classic, we're going to start from the very top. And as you scroll through here, again, there's one buyer that transcribed from the BRE portion. And as you scroll through, it's going to be a very basic outline of what we had just seen up until you start your transaction. And then here, this is where we start our transaction, right? Now, the date prepared, the property address, all of this will be covered in when we do our transaction and when we do MLS Connect for that property. Now, at a minimum, whoever the seller brokerage is, we know they're going to represent the seller. So I'm going to check that box, and automatically the boxes for whoever that seller agent is representing, that person. If you notice, my information transcribed over here, and I'm going to say that Keller Williams and myself, we're going to be representing the buyer, right? Remember, if you don't have this box checked, it makes your RPA null and void when you go write an offer. So this is one less thing to think about as you're preparing those offers on the fly, right? It used to take me hours to write an offer. Now it can take less than 2 or 3 minutes simply by having these items already preset, right? The purchase price is a variable, all cash, all of these items here will tend to be a variable. There's one item I do put in, and we do have to adjust our RPA templates as the market changes. At one time, my not to exceed fixed rate was like 4% or 5%. Now I have to put 8%, right? Something in there that I know will protect the client. And of course, if the rates are 9% by the time I write this offer, okay, great. I just change it in the middle of the new transaction, right? So the additional amount financed, all of this is a variable depending upon our clients, right? Fixed rate or adjustable rate, not to exceed. Okay. Under here, this is also all variables. Now, I will say under assignment request as a freebie to the sellers, I'll put 0. And again, if I'm dealing with an institutional investor buyer and they're like, hey, we do need to assign it because we're going to assign it from our acquisition or our personal accounts and acquisition LLC, then I can leave that open. But for the majority of our clients, 4 out of 5 times, we're representing live people who are buying for themselves. They're not planning on assigning it to anybody. And Natalia is the listing agent, Joseph's the listing agent, and you guys are going through and you're like, hey, this guy's smart. He understands that, and the assignment request is 0. Kudos points to that buyer's agent, right? Under the loan, now you can kind of game plan this, it's situational, but our lending partners, whether it's Cindy or whoever we're working with, for the most part, can get a loan done in less than 14 days, right? So I'm going to put it down to 14. A loan appraisal, I'll put it down to 12, right? Investigation of property, we're pretty confident getting it done in 7 days. So again, these are items that we're all going to put in here to get our stuff done. Preliminary title price, in the past I haven't really put days on here, but most listing agents will get you all this stuff in escrow pretty quickly, so we can put in 7 days. Review of seller documents 7 days. Now keep in mind, it's on there, but we usually leave it for 17. But keep in mind, it's 7 days beginning when you receive the documents, right? If you haven't received the documents, though, that timer doesn't count. So you can put across the board 7 days just to shorten your contingency periods. Lien items is fine. Time of possession, I leave that blank. Seller occupied units, so all of this stuff can stay blank, right? Pretty across the board. Items included and excluded, again, that's property by property. Allocation of cost. So if you notice here, what we checked off earlier was we added an NHD company or seller's choice. we're always gonna put it on the side of the seller to pay for that for the most part. Even when the market was on fire, they still paid $100 to provide a buyer with an NHD report. It wasn't like the end of the world. And we also added an environmental, and that's very typical to include that into your NHD report. You know, listing agent and seller would be double dumb not to include it for $10 or whatever they're charging for it. Because of the liability. Never ever talk to Rich if you want to, but I wouldn't put termite report or home inspection report. It's already part of your overall blanket inspections. So to rehash it here just makes it more confusing, A, for the listing agent and seller, also for the lender, and we can do a deep dive into that as to why. The seller, we usually put these items here as point of cost for, sorry, the ones above here, government required point of sale requirements, inspections, your basic smoke detectors and water heater bracing, all that we usually put on the seller. Now, there have been times we uncheck the box and put it on the side of the buyer to pay for, right? And that was just to incentivize our offer being accepted. But again, most times you're going to write an offer, the seller will pay for those items. Escrow fee, each side to pay their own fees, so you just check that one box. We put it on the seller to pay for your title policy, transfer tax fees, city tax fees, HOA if any, HOA certificate fee, they actually just put on the buyer now. HOA transfer fees put definitely on the seller. Private transfer fees, seller, it's already automatically checked. Now there are other inspections that were, and again, it's case by case. But there are other items such as the septic tank, and that's an addendum. When you check that box, there's an addendum that's added on there, and you can actually say you can disclose who's going to pay for what. We usually have the seller pay for that inspection. It's quite costly. Obviously, it's not going to be on your template here, but that's just food for future thought. We do put a cap if seller or so the cost is not to exceed. Now I'm going to put in $775, and typically it's $575. But I've noticed a lot of homes that maybe you guys are selling out here usually have 2 AC units, have a swimming pool, right? So if you know you're going to just constantly, like Nika, if you're constantly just selling in Calabasas and you're seeing 2-3 AC units and a pool on a regular basis, I would just put $1,100. That's $11,100 home warranty coverage, but that would incorporate 2 AC units. We used to, I think our current one says $575, which is very typical for a single family home with an AC unit, and that's you're probably hitting that $575. And I would also check the box here for seller to pay it. And then we also add in Crest Plan. And you just add it here to, and that's if you're working with Old Republic Home Warranty Protection with Danielle Goodwin. And that's it, guys. Congratulations. This is your basic template. Took us a little longer to kind of fumble through it, but if you just have these boxes filled out and those initial items filled on your cover sheet, everything else is a choose your own adventure depending on what the client needs are. Maureen, did I miss anything on there that you can think of off the bat?
No, you did awesome.
Yay, I did awesome. Okay, guys. So now we're going to go and write an offer in less than 2 minutes. You know, just to like prove a point. So do you guys see this page here? You guys see the MLS here?
Yes.
Yep, awesome. So last week, Monica and I, we toured a house, a really cool house. It was this bad boy right over here. Oh, no, not that one. Come on, it was this house. That one, no, not that one either.
Maybe.
Sorry, guys.
Maybe so already.
No. We just found it too. Or maybe it did sell. No, it's this one right here. Here we go. So we went to 5505 Amber Circle. This was in Mountain View Drive. Beautiful house. Very beautiful house. So I'm going to have my 2 windows open. I lost the other window. Did I get rid of it? Nope, it's here. Okay, cool. So I'm going to have my transaction window open. OMG, my clients are super thrilled. We went and toured this house and we're ready to write an offer. The 2 windows I'll have open is this window here, guys, your car zip form page. and the MLS open, right? So the first thing I'll do is I'll pull up the property, which is this one here. I'm gonna minimize this window, there you go. All right, so I'm gonna kind of have this page open. First thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna highlight our MLS number, right? Just do a simple highlight, copy. And I'm gonna go to my transaction page here, and you guys see, I'm sure you guys see that, right? Yep, you do. All right, and I'm gonna hit new transaction. Yep, I'm gonna hit new transaction, new purchase or offer. I'm gonna put in here Philip and Monica, they're my clients. Monica Crispino, even though Monica's last name is not Crispino. And I misspelled Crispino. Yeah, okay. And then I'm gonna go to MLS Connect. For most of us, unless you are with Claw, if you're with SRAR, for sure you'll see our MLS one. You'll click that, you'll paste over that that MLS number we highlighted and copied. I'm gonna hit find. There's the property, there's all the information. I'm gonna say use listing. Bam, it's a residential purchase, so it's automatically gonna apply one of our past RPA packages or one of our past templates. I'm gonna hit save. And if you ever want to show a listing agent that you are a smart buyer's agent to work with, when you go over to documents and you're under cover sheet, right? You're gonna go at all the stuff we have pre-filled in. Oh, by the way, if you notice, bam, this wasn't in our form before on our template, but if you do MLS Connect, all of it gets connected there. And if you forgot to do MLS Connect when you first started the transaction, you can do it here, right? You can connect it at any time. In fact, let's say if our clients failed and said, hey, we don't like the house and we want a different offer on a different house, great. You just go to MLS Connect and punch in a new MLS number, and all that new information will supersede all the information that you see here, including the listing agent, right? So Coldwell Banker, all this stuff wasn't here before. Now it's all here. Do you guys see that? Nika, Betty, Christopher, Jasmine, team?
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for that one. We appreciate it. So I'm going to type in my buyer's name. Sorry, this might not take 2 minutes because we're explaining stuff. Philip Crispino. Oh yeah, no problem. Yeah, cool. See you later.
Thank you so much.
Oh yeah, you're welcome. Awesome. Yeah, keep crushing. Congratulations on getting your escrow. Woo. And now I'll put at least an email address. The email address helps in writing and sending them your DocuSign paperwork. And then I have Monica Domestica. She's the buyer. We're gonna make sure she's added on there. I know her email, or maybe I copy and paste it. Monica Crisp, that's not her email. KROQ@yahoo.com. Awesome. And then this is where you look like a genius to the listing agent. Something super simple. If you click this parcel ID number, it opens a second window into what's called Realist. And then here's the seller name, Tim and Carol. Or is it Carol Kim? Yeah. Brunel, and it's also in a living trust. Maureen, would you copy paste this one and then parentheses TE for the living trust, or do you just copy owner name?
So you would actually, I'm looking at it right now. The name that you would do is the trust one.
Trust one, awesome. So I'm gonna take this one, copy, and I'm gonna go right over here under seller information one. Paste, and then I'm gonna put in TE for the trust, finish that off. And there you go, it's done. Now on every page where the seller needs to sign, there's their name. Now that tells the listing agent, hey, this buyer's agent kind of listens to details. They're pulling up the data. They made my life easier. I don't have to put my client's name on every page that requires their name. It's already going to be on everything that we send over. It makes us 1 inch closer to being one of the only offers to be countered. And if we're dramatically off on price, usually a listing agent will say, hey, we loved all the terms that you put in there. Love how clean your offer is. You're off 100 grand. Oh, okay. So if we come in 105, do we have a deal? Well, at least counter them or whatever they tell us, but we're in the game, right? We have a shot. And then that's it for all that stuff. We're going to continue writing our offer. It's an RPA. go right into it.
Hey, Philip.
Yep, fire away.
So like on the RPA,
Mhm.
I thought it was understood that we have to put the KW advisory and the KW addendum within the RPA and the offer itself from the get-go, correct? or
Yeah, no,
incorrect?
you're right about that. I mean, we've typically done our offers through and then added in the addendums, like once escrow opens or once the offer.
Okay. Yeah,
You know, it's a
Okay.
tough call. We were here with Stephanie, and Stephanie adds it in at the offset. We practiced it the other way. I'm not saying right or wrong. You're right. It is ideal to have it at the offset.
yeah, I've done it both ways too.
Yeah.
Usually it's just more paperwork on the offer. Buyer gets a little confused as to why they're doing all that,
Yeah.
you know, just for the offer, you know what I'm saying?
Right, from the offer standpoint, I find it easier from a template, get everything out for DocuSign ASAP. Because if you once you add the other forms that are saved files, you have to click and drag all the signature points and the name points into that form. So you have to retype all that stuff every time. So just to make, you know, my life easier over the years, I just submitted, even with our past office, submitted the RPA and adjoining addendums, you know, whether addendum 1 or BA, FHA addendum, or whatever called for that client, and then just live with that. You know, just kind of speeding through a little bit. I'll hit buyer for Monica and Mestica. The date prepared, I'll say, is today. So if you saw that, all that information was filled in. Seller information filled in there as well. Date prepared, St. Patrick's Day. Under offer price, I'm going to say just keep the numbers simple. We're offering $5 million above list price. It's 4,700,000, and that's 500,000. That'd be so cool if it were that. If they could sell it for that much money, $5 million. We're not going to put an expiration date. It's 3 days out. Buyer deposit, if I'm not mistaken, that's $150,000. Could be wrong.
3%.
At 3%, there it is. Let's say our loan amount, we're putting 50% down, so we're gonna get a loan for $250,000, $2.5 million. And by doing that, it showed the remaining balance that we need to bring less our 3%. So that's how we get the 50% here. Our $5 million number, for anyone who wants to know, purchase price total will show 5 million, and it shows the remaining balance that needs to be brought in, not including closing costs, things of that nature. My offer is practically done. I already have all of these things filled in, right? We want the washer, we want the dryer, we want the microwave, we want the dishwasher, the wine refrigerators, stoves, all of them, video doorbells. We want it all. We're paying way above asking price, and we want everything and anything that we can get our hands on, right? So we're gonna cover all that. And I may go through the MLS, find out what's excluded, not excluded, but for the sake of our offer, we're done, right? Maybe one change, because I did notice this thing had like 5 ACs. So we might put $2,500 with a large pool, swimming, sliding pool, 80-foot slide, all that stuff, $2,500 home warranty. And I did have the Keller Williams Realty Calabasas affiliation. This was like redone from a while back. But that's it. My offer's done. I'm going to hit e-sign here, and I'm going to go to DocuSign. I'm actually going to send it to us. You know, we're gonna write an offer on our greenhouse. Calabasas mansion. Don't even know how to spell mansion. I'm going to select DocuSign. And with Q&A, I think this is like less than 10 minutes, but I'll click Philip and Monica, the buyers. I won't send anything to the seller. I won't send anything to the listing agent, and we'll hash that out in a proper email introduction. I'll hit next. And then this is where DocuSign takes over. It automatically will pre-fill everything under the sun that needs to be signed, including the opt-in, opt-out situations when it comes to mediation and arbitration. Again, depending on who you ask Stephanie, she never has her clients sign it. If you ask Rich, you know, he'll advise that they read through it, and ultimately it's ideal that they do sign it. Quite honestly, it doesn't faze me one way or the other. If they sign mediation, great. If they don't sign mediation, hey, listing agent will likely counter us for that one item. But if you read it and after reading it, you do not want to deal with mediation or arbitration, I get it, right? Will our offer be accepted? Kind of depends on,
That could be a deal breaker.
yeah, and you know what, I've learned to just let it be. I don't go back and send to my clients, hey, you need to sign this until it becomes part of the counter offer. Because now it's in, now the listing side and the sellers are practicing law when they're not attorneys, right? And let the onus be on them. So I'm gonna hit close, or actually there's a button for send somewhere around here. Or maybe I'm not seeing it. Oh, here it is. Thank you. I'm gonna hit send. It'll go to Monica's email, my email, or my DocuSign app. It's popped up right now. And there you go, guys. We just wrote a $5 million offer with questions in less than 12 minutes, give or take, with questions. So that was that. Once you have your template down, you can refine it, you can get better at it, you can optimize it, you can do different kinds. But that template that we just set up together, that's here on this recording, you can use it for condos, you can use it for SFRs, you can use it essentially for ranches, homes with septic tanks, so there's boxes to add everything in. If we took out the Q&A portion, that was probably a 2 or 3 minute offer. Sometimes I'm really slow on math, so I'll keep a calculator just to figure out what 3% is of a certain number, and to figure out what 10% is, or 20% or 30% is of for down payments. But in 3 minutes or less, you can literally be hanging out at Starbucks after showings, submit the offers, and then go home and play with your kids, not think about it until Monday, right? Or until all of them come back. Nika, fire away.
Hey, on the BRE, just go over that one portion. Where did you come up with, because I had 3%. I don't know where you came up with 3.5 or the $1,000 or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, how do you go over that with your client? Because my client was picking that apart.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, prepare for your audience. I mean, I let clients know that commissions are negotiable across the board. You know, we've even seen BREs from other agents that we look up to that charge 6%. They don't actually collect it, but they're showing their value to the client. So we typically will do 3.5 as our value. And do we ever collect that? No. And even my clients who've sold homes before, they're like, wow, 3.5, that's a lot. I usually pay 2.5 or 2. Great. And you know, you have a great point. We usually collect our fee anyways from the MLS, right? And this is our way of showing our value to the client. So I'm not necessarily gonna go back. I have to jump off and get going. But you can put whatever you want on there. I mean, there was a time we put 6% just to copy them, and I just thought that was egregious. But 3.5 seemed reasonable. And again, if for those who were just hearing it, we only have collected it twice, and that was when, you know, well, 3 times now with the recent one. But the other times that we collected it were when it was like a 1%er, or we knew we could get the 0.5% of the value. And there's a lot of different variables in that. And again, there's no set price. You set the price, we set the price on our own. Whatever we want to charge, you want to be a 1%er, that's fine. 2%, 2.5, 3, 5, 10. Totally up to you. I know some agents here who do put 10%, and they're entitled. No,
Good job.
they get the land, they entitle the land, they're part of the deal. I mean, at the end, 10% is actually a gigantic number, but at that point, he's not charging, you know. Let me just get my 2% out of this. So thank you guys so much. Next week's it's command. I won't be here for command. We're actually gonna have Nina on teach TC filing, right? And then the week after that, we'll be doing contract again. So, or not TC filing, uploading green sheets to command. That's what Nina's teaching next week. And then the following week, message, drop in like questions like, hey Philip, can you go over that again? Hey Philip, this is what we're coming across. Can we go over this item that time? If it's super pressing and you need it right away, let us know. We can hash out a Zoom and we'll get other people involved so that it's taught not just to one person, but it's taught to a crew if we need the information sooner. So thank you guys for taking time out of your crazy schedules to be here. Thank you, team, and make it an awesome day. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Maureen.